My head's been in the cloud. Bet you've been there too. But where is this cloud, that enigmatic entity storing our data on the internet? David Pogue of Yahoo Finance knows and tells all in our Sunday morning cover story.
These days, you can't walk through an airport, read a magazine, or open a computer without seeing ads for the cloud.
The cloud, where everyone can access everything they save from anywhere they are.
The ads clearly suggest that the cloud is desirable, but what they don't say is what the cloud is. Well, here's the basic idea. In the beginning, we all kept our own stuff on our own computers. In the new world of the cloud, though, your computer files don't have to be on your computer. They can be stored out on the internet, alongside everyone else's, in huge centralized buildings called data centers. Your computer or phone can then fetch your files on the spot, wherever you happen to be. Now, you may have encountered the cloud as a synchronizing service. For example, Apple's iCloud service. If I edit this photo on my Apple laptop, maybe make it black and white, maybe crop in on it, a couple of seconds later, I'll see the exact same changes show up on that photo on my Apple phone. Now, these two devices are not directly connected. Instead, that data made an intermediate hop. In a fraction of a second, it comes here to a massive data center, and then it returned to the phone. Most of the time, though, you use the cloud without knowing it, because most of those cloud data centers exist to serve companies.
So it could be retail, it could be real estate, healthcare, life sciences, oil and gas, everything from small initial startups right through to the very, very largest enterprises.
Matt Wood is a general manager at Amazon Web Services, or AWS. It's by far the biggest cloud service company in the world, bigger than its next 14 competitors combined. So all of these industries, all of these companies are hiring AWS to do what?
Let's say you're a brewery. They want to brew beer. They don't want to manage computers. They want to brew beer. They don't want to be going through the expense and the upfront cost and all the complexity of managing these large amounts of computers.
What you're saying is that cloud companies like AWS are basically renting computers, storage, power, security, all the stuff that technicians would have normally had to do on site, right?
That's right, yeah. And so today, very large organizations such as GE, Shell, Philips, Netflix, all run on top of AWS.
If you'd like to see what the cloud looks like, all you have to do is visit a data center, like this one belonging to Raging Wire in Virginia. But good luck getting in.
This is a retinal scanner, and this one's kind of interesting because this one's smart enough to know whether my eyeball is alive or not. So that means you can't take another eyeball and hold it up to here.
Well, darn, because I was sort of hoping to kill you and sneak in.
It's not going to work here.
Fortunately, marketing director Jim Leach agreed to give me a tour.
Oh, this is called a man trap. Man trap. And the secret here is that one door has to close and lock before the other door can open.
Once you get past the concrete barriers, the armed guards, the retina scanner, the man trap, and 9 password-protected doors, you find out what's inside a data center. Just racks and racks and racks of powerful computers. This is the internet.
This is the internet, this is the cloud. Basically, in this room, ballpark, there's about 3 million websites running right now.
For security reasons, they'll never tell you whose websites. But every site and app you've ever heard of, Facebook, Twitter, Netflix, Uber, Airbnb, the New York Times, even CBS News, lives in data center cages like this one. All right, I gotta ask, what happens in a power failure?
It's backed up by batteries that can run the entire facility for about 10 minutes while we turn on these massive generators that can run continuously.
This data center is in Loudoun County, Virginia, which turns out not to be much of a surprise.
70% of all web traffic on a daily basis from the world goes through a Loudoun County data center.
Come on!
70%.
Buddy Reiser is the county's head of business development. He's helped turn Loudoun County into the largest concentration of data centers in the world, 10 million square feet in 70 enormous buildings.
What do the data centers need and how do we provide it? And it comes down to power and water and fiber and workforce and proximity. And I think the other thing you need is plenty of green space to build, because these are really big buildings, as you can see.
But hold on a second. If we're concentrating all of our data into data centers and concentrating most of the data centers into one county, doesn't that make a very tempting target for terrorists? Amazon's Matt Wood isn't worried.
If something does happen, or we have a power event, or there's a flood in one specific location, that data is held redundantly in other locations as well. So
I don't mean to give anyone ideas, but let's say I figured out that one of these unmarked buildings was an AWS data center, and I blew it up. Are you saying that it's so backed up and redundant that probably you wouldn't notice?
yeah, you wouldn't notice. I mean, we might be a bit upset, but we wouldn't notice.
Okay, so the cloud offers speed, security, flexibility, and savings to the world's businesses. But that doesn't mean it's flawless.
A really obvious example is that the cloud uses a massive amount of power.
Tung-Wei Hu is a University of Michigan professor and author of A Prehistory of the Cloud.
Greenpeace calculated that if you added up all these data centers, they would be the 5th most power-hungry country in the world. They're idle 96% of the time, and the reason is because they're waiting for that.
What are?
Data centers are just computers sitting around doing nothing for 96% of the time. And that's because they're waiting for a spike in traffic. They're waiting for the next music video to go viral. It's those exceptional moments which they have to build the capacity for it. But most of the time, nothing really happens on the internet besides a lot of cat videos.
And then there's all the secrecy.
We don't know anything about what Amazon or Google really does with their data. We have to take their word for it. In fact, if anything, we sign away half of our rights to these data because the cloud is this strange way of letting the companies decide what happens to the data that you have.
But even Professor Hu admits that the cloud is here to stay. Amazon's AWS is on track to make $16 billion this year, dwarfing the part of Amazon that most people know, the part that sells books and things. AWS is growing at 40% a year, and Loudoun County can't build data centers fast enough. Buddy Reiser says there are 7 new ones under construction right now. And how long will it take them to build that?
Probably under 2 years.
Are you saying that this kind of construction is being built to anticipate the demand a couple years from now, or is there already enough demand to fill this?
This is 100% leased already. I mean, it's not getting ahead. We're just barely keeping up. There's no empty space in our data centers. By and large, they're all 100% filled.